It's the best, I think, aircraft in the market for Europe. It does everything for you except for the engines. You can do hundreds of Zoom calls, finally meeting face to face, and that's what the business aviation is about.
How big is percentage of people who are buying aircrafts for themselves?
So 35%.
35%.
It's still very personal. It's also personal for me, because my job is my hobby.
Let me introduce Maxim Akbaev. He is our contact person and the major salesperson I know in respect to Hondajets in Europe. So Maxim is really specialist on Hondajet, and today we want to discuss a bit the new models, Hondajet itself, Hondajet Corporation, and maybe some news about your participation in Friedrichshafen Aero. So we are right now at Friedrichshafen Aero exhibition, one of the major aviation shows in Europe after COVID. So Maxim, let's introduce yourself first of all.
Yeah, as I said, thank you, Vitaly. My name is Maxim. I'm a regional sales manager for Hondajet Europe. So we're the exclusive authorized dealer for Hondajet, representing Hondajet in Europe, covering everything, except for France. And yeah, we're here, great to be out here after 2 years, of COVID times, and wearing masks and, feel this freedom. And here we have a beautiful Hondajet in the background. It's a
please tell us what exactly it is.
So we have a brand new Hondajet Elite S, just came straight from the factory.
So it's in fact, tell us, it's a, like third modification.
It's a third generation aircraft. The original Hondajet, so this is a Hondajet Elite S. So the original Hondajet, HA420, nowadays we call it Classic, came out end of 2015 when they started the production. And it's been almost 7 years, 6 years pretty much with, Hondajet, cycle, and they came out with 3 modifications. The second one was Hondajet Elite. They increased the payload, fuel. There was an additional fuel tank, so it increased the range. And the maximum takeoff weight increased. There was improvements on the takeoff and landing distance. And the next generation was Hondajet Elite S, which was introduced last summer in 2021. So it was in May 2021.
So it's less than 1 year.
Yeah. We do, as you can see, in this 6-year span, we have all this, modifications. So the Honda's vision is to keep improving, keep, listening to customers, existing customers, and future customers, what they want to see on the aircraft. And you can see it's a beautiful aircraft, keeps improving, we have a funding, backed by the big Honda Motors. So Honda Aircraft Company is a subsidiary of the Honda Motors. The big Honda with the revenues of 70 billion or something.
As you know, and with your support, we bought 3 Hondajets of generation number 1. Mm-hmm. So tell what's the rough difference between the first generation and this Elite S model?
So mainly in payload. So with the original Hondajet, the maximum takeoff weight was 10,600 pounds. And now we're looking at the Elite S, the maximum takeoff weight is 10,900 pounds. So that's pretty much a 300 pounds difference. And mainly the difference is in fuel and the extra range. So the original first generation range was, it still is 1,200 nautical miles. And here we have 1,400 nautical miles. So this 200 nautical mile difference, extra 20-30 minute flights,
which is important.
Yeah, and especially if you, again, in this segment, this size of aircraft is always a balance between the payload, number of passengers, and fuel. So you have to be very careful playing around with the balance, weight and balance. And it's always difficult to find this, and meet the clients' expectations. They think, oh, I'm gonna buy this one and fly, for hours and hours, but unfortunately it's not possible. Or fuel it with people, but it's a best, I think, aircraft in the market for Europe. Where in the US, which is the main market for it accounts for, I would say, 80 to 90% of all the Hondajets. They're based in the US. Right now we have 20 Hondajets in Europe.
Not much so far, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully it will be more with years to come.
Yes, and we will help you to do this.
And because of the range and location, right? Central Europe is not so big, and pretty much you can go, if you're based in Central Europe, let's say like you guys based in France, South France, you can cover all the major locations, all the major cities. In the US, you have different. United States is very big. Different states. People flying from East Coast to West Coast, it's 2 stops, and from the west to the east, it's 1 stop. And here in Europe, you can go pretty much anywhere.
And our clients asking for the first and second generation, something like that. You are able to also to do some improvements like APMG and steep approach.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you just briefly explain what does it mean APMG and what does it mean steep approach?
So when they introduced the Elite, one of the big changes was to the horizontal tail. When they replaced it and made it a larger tail, the horizontal stabilizer on top. So they made it a little slightly bigger to reduce the rotation speeds and takeoff speeds. So it would require less, runway length for takeoff. So, and then after the introduction of the Elite, we introduced the APMG package. So it stands for some performance package, performance modification. And the major thing was to to change that horizontal stabilizer to match the Elite's takeoff, distance and performance. There's a a few aerodynamic improvements. They, remove some parts to, reduce drag, and increase the aerodynamics of the aircraft. Hence, you have slight increase in range. So by installing this APMG package, you have, slight increase in range, like by, I'd say, 50 nautical miles maybe, but you cannot install an additional fuel tank like it's an Elite.
Yes.
So, but still, there's a very high, take on this, improvement on this package to improve your original Hondajet to the point where it's almost like a Hondajet Elite.
And steep approach, what does it mean?
Steep approach, it's a separate modification to the aircraft where it would be, allow the aircraft to land in a certain airports like Lugano or London City, but every aircraft and the crew require additional training as certification. It's not required. You can still do regular approaches in those airports, but it's something up to the client if they want to do it.
And I understand that steep approach, you don't really need to do any technical things. It's more computer, aircraft computer.
There's a software upgrade, and I think there's a slight modification to the speed brake.
Oh, okay.
I think it's slight modification to the speed brake, so it deploys even further.
How many aircrafts produced already? Hondajet aircrafts.
So here with us is serial number 232.
Okay.
So right now it's 200 plus aircraft in the flying around, actively in operation, because the original Hondajets started from serial number 11.
Okay.
Because first 10 were prototypes, and so it starts really from 11. So let's say I can confirm we have 220 aircraft.
220, 225.
So plus.
Yes.
But actively in operation, more than 200.
What is the delivery timing and pricing if we would order aircrafts right now in Europe?
So in Europe, the good news and the bad news, the Hondajet is sold out until 2025. So, and maybe there's still a chance to grab some 2024 slots, but
if we are fast, yes.
Yes. You have to act quickly. It's a crazy market, and we as a dealer, we have positions available. So right now we have positions for Q3 and Q4 2023.
Okay.
And maybe there's a chance for Q2, right? We always clients, and pretty much it's pretty much 1 year year or year and a half tops. That's not a lot, especially with the current market situation. I know it's some competitor aircraft, you need to wait at least 2 years to get your new aircraft. And the pre-owned market, as you know, is crazy nowadays. Everything is overpriced. And yeah, it's better maybe to order a new one where you actually get your value back and it remains,
What
steady.
is the minimum basic price?
So as we're talking about brand new aircraft, Hondajet Elite S, the base price is $5.9 million. And with, of course, plus options.
And which are the major options and rough additional pricing for that?
Well, I mean, it's always, for Europe, if we're talking about Europe,
Yes,
the
Europe.
requirement is to have DME and CPDOC avionics, installed on the aircraft,
Yes.
which is mandated by EASA.
Yes.
This is the major, which is roughly worth altogether $100,000, CPDOC plus DME.
So
this is the requirement.
So it means $6 million. It's the minimum,
yes.
price
Minimum
for
price.
European
Yes.
Accepted aircraft.
Yes, but then you have, personal choice.
For example,
Personal choice, personal preference. Of course you can pick two, interior colors, so it comes at no cost, right? When you might want some, executive seats. Some small. There's not many options for the interior, to play around, to change. But the major is up front in the cockpit. So we call it this as a pilot's aircraft. So with the up front, the major, options you have are the avionics, where you have some additional, safety measures. It comes at a price. You have some really, really good ones, some detections for the winds, for gusts.
it's especially important if the buyer would occasionally, at least occasionally, fly himself. I believe.
Yes. So out of, as we said, we have around 200 plus, aircraft in the air, in operation. Out of them, around 35% are pilot owners.
Okay.
So they said
So you buy it to fly yourself,
yes,
to enjoy
exactly,
the
to
aircraft.
Enjoy, you have, of course, you need to have a certain, qualifications to fly the aircraft yourself. But there are some people, interested to fly, even where they have low requirements, low hours, low total time, but they have a safety pilot with them.
It's a very interesting point. And how big is percentage of people who are buying aircraft for themselves?
So 35%.
35%.
Out of current 200 plus, 220. Let's
And
say,
I heard that you, Hondajet Corporation, support this type of clients. So you have a club or association which make a gathering for the members and so on.
There
Can
is
you
a
just
club, there
tell
is a
us?
community in the United States for sure. They do annual meetings. They have a website, a forum where they discuss issues, suggestions, just a community.
As aircraft owner, maybe I can even tell you more about that.
Yes,
we have a
please.
special application. We have gathering events. Indeed, for the moment, it's most of things done in the United States, but it's for all aircraft owners. So if you want to feel yourself American and enjoy your Honda in the United States and share your experience with pilots and owners in the United States, it's always, you are free to come to these events. Always, it's done in lovely airports in the United States, and there are even special discounts for Hondajet owners for coming to these airports and so on. But indeed, it would be really nice, and what we are discussing already with Hondajet Corporation, that it might be a good idea to organize something here in Europe, to
Yes,
be closer
that's
to
the
each other
plan.
and
That's-
meet more frequently with you.
That's the plan. That's the plan. As we, deliver more aircraft, finding more clients in Europe. There is, of course, a plan we have, internally discussed. One of these, same idea to do some, gatherings or meetings all together. And you, of course, as the largest, contributor to the fleet and the operator in Europe, that would be amazing, And we are always open to do such events. Hopefully, this year, but of course, because we had COVID. Remember, for the past 2 years we had COVID, very strict, because in America, let's say in Florida, COVID did not exist.
Yeah.
So, since we had COVID for the past 2 years and we start, coming back to the normal life, this is something we can definitely discuss and organize, and this year, next year. And I, really looking forward to it, to connect the owners. That's the most important part, is to connect the owners, where you can exchange the experience. Again, talk about some problems, suggestions, help each other, try educate each other on.
Let's think, and maybe we can try to do even together as the biggest aircraft owners in the world. We are also interested to meet other owners and pilots and all this.
And as I said, we're just our first show, after 2 years, when we're going to eBase, next end of next month. You're always also invited and welcome to come and join us at eBase. And after eBase, we're definitely going to sit down and discuss what we can do next together. And especially with all the, we're coming back to normal, visiting all these events, and like Aero Friedrichshafen and eBay, so having some new interest, new people interested in the Hondajet, where we can also organize events to show them around, introduce in a private way, maybe, do flights on your aircraft.
Yes,
that would be amazing. Yes.
As you know, I personally love Hondajet, and all my life is devoted to Hondajet. I have everything from Hondajet, including my watches, and I fly with Hondajet, and I love it. But that's my personal, and I believe that it's the best aircraft. But tell us, as a professional, why Hondajet is the best aircraft?
It's also personal for me, because it's not just because it's my job, but it's also, part of, my job is my hobby, but I personally love aviation. And for me, it's important when I'm selling the product, but I like the product. And I had an opportunity to work at the factory for about a year
in the United States.
In the United States, in the sales department. We're doing sales support, market research, technical analysis, and it gave me an opportunity to learn more about the product, the company itself. And when you're there inside, you know how everything is working, what's the goals, the missions, and everything what they do. And I fell in love with the Hondajet personally. It's as you said, I also feel this is the best aircraft in its class. Because if you're looking at competitors, I'm not going to name them.
Yes, sure.
We're looking at the competitors in the same category.
Them.
Yeah, we know who the competitor is, the main competitor is. It's an old platform. It's an old aircraft. The designs were created back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and they keep doing, let's say, incremental changes. Maybe some avionics, maybe some interior changes, but this is a brand new platform, modern aircraft, modern technologies. You're looking, this is a full composite with fuselage, engines mounted on the wing, completely different design, completely different technology. And this is what we're in a new era, aviation, where technology does really matter. This is what the new generation, new pilot owners, new pilots are going for, touch screens, less buttons, less workload, everything is automatic. For example, on a Hondajet, you have automatic anti-DI system and DI system. So when there's electric windshield heater, you have bleed air on the wings, you have electrically explosive horizontal tail, where it vibrates and knocks to remove the ice, and it's done automatically. So when it detects the ice, it does everything for you except for the engines. Same with the lights. It's the only aircraft that has automatic lights, and it's also with the de-icing, where when you start the engine, there's a beacon and the light comes on. You go low idle and taxi, you have a taxi light. It comes on automatically. Same when you go takeoff, full power, you have the navigation lights, landing lights, strobes. So it's less workload for the pilot. This is what makes this aircraft really, really good, advanced, modern, and it's what people want. Honda is listening to people, what they want, and they do it.
And for clients who are not pilots, it's always interesting some nice features inside. So I
Yes.
heard about the music and light. Can you tell about this?
Yeah, so with the cabin, so again, because of the engines mounted on the wing, you have an extra feet long cabin, so you have more legroom space. Right, so when you sit next to each other, you're not touching each other.
Yes.
Your knees are not touching. You know, you have more space. You can move aside if you're a tall or
If
big
it's
guy.
not a family flight, it's
Yes,
important.
It's important. It's important. You have all these nice materials, touches. Again,
The
in new-
music system?
there's a music. It's a cool. It's called Bon Jovi audio system. So you have about 20 transducers, you know, installed in the fuselage, and
Okay.
so it works as one big speaker. So one big fuselage, it acts as one speaker. Somebody who, you know, prefers to listen to the music in flight, you know, have some fun, of course. And again, because of the engines, talking about technology and why the aircraft is better, you know, we have the engines mounted on the wing. You have quieter cabin, less noise, less vibration, and it's important for, you know, for the passengers, because with all this white noise coming in, you know, the less noise you have, the better for you. When you come out of the airplane, you feel more refreshed.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it means for the passenger. You have a lavatory in the back, fully private lavatory with doors enclosed.
So it's a solid doors.
Solid
inside.
doors for privacy. And you have, I mean, it's not a huge, you know, lavatory, but it does the job.
And what clients really love, that you don't really smell that there is a toilet because
There's no
of
toilet.
the external service,
Yes.
which is, I think,
It's very important to
it's
highlight, yes.
It's like I understand it's like an invention by Honda.
It's not an invention. You know, this the external serviceable toilet, which is an option on the Hondajet, and it's 100% take rate. It's pretty much used on the bigger aircraft.
Yes.
It's a more premium price.
Yes.
So what I always refer to Hondajet, having all these different options and features, which is available on the aircraft, which is a cost. They cost us twice as much as a Hondajet. Right, so Hondajet, you know, base price 5.9 million, you know, going with options 6.2, 6.3, brand new aircraft. You know, some features, you know, they are available on aircraft which costs, I don't know, $12 million.
Yeah, sure. I understand what you mean.
This is what makes it cool, you know, you have some really cool new features which are available on the higher class. And some people
it's
don't
like
need the range.
handy size version of the expensive and luxury
Pretty much.
birds.
I mean, again, depending on your requirements.
Yeah,
what
if
do
you're
need for
one
you.
or two persons
One or two
traveling,
persons,
you
know,
don't
traveling.
need huge, expensive in operation.
In operation, yes.
And tell us, how much approximately could it cost? I mean, operating and owning of aircraft.
So, I mean, there are differences, of course, operating privately and commercially. If you're going for private,
Yeah, let's speak about private.
yeah, you get private. You have, you know, fuel. You know, it's variable cost. You have also maintenance programs. So, 2 tiers of maintenance programs.
How much does it cost, and how it's on which basis it's calculated?
So, everything depends on how many hours you fly per year, right? On average, we're looking at, you know, total cost per hour, excluding crew costs, at 1,500 euros. It's including, you know, it's including variable costs and fixed costs. By variable, we mean fuel, maintenance programs. By fixed costs, we call, you know, hangar, insurance, some maybe charts, but no crew costs at this point because it's for private operations.
Yes.
And commercial, when you're flying commercially, you know, you have the aircraft on the AOC. It's, of course, you need to have 2 pilots, so you cannot fly single pilot. But at the same time, you get your fuel is cheaper. By I think almost 2 times cheaper when you're flying privately.
Yes.
But there are of course advantages and the disadvantages. You know, when you're flying privately, you pretty much have no restrictions, right? When you're flying
Absolutely.
commercially, you have restrictions on choosing
And
the airport,
regulations, yes.
regulations. You know, you have alternative airports. You need reserves. There are certain differences.
Yeah, some advantages and disadvantages. as
But
you
on
said.
average, we're looking at 1,500 euros per hour, which is pretty much, I would say, cheap for such an aircraft.
And tell us how you personally came to aviation. What is your background and why you
Background.
decided to become an aviation specialist?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I was kind of connected to aviation in terms of going to some air shows. My dad was a military translator, so he was working quite closely with the American Air Forces, and he did some, meetings, training, with the army. So by that, he was bringing me some, airplane models, taking me to air shows. Maybe it's how it pretty much got into my heart back when I was a kid. And later on, I was, as I was growing up, I was more into computers, IT. At some point, I thought I'm going to do something related to IT. And then at some point, I started going to watching some aviation videos. Like everybody else, filming, window seat, every takeoff or landing. And so I started going into, learning more about the flying itself. Started playing, the flight simulators. And then I realized, I want to do something with the aviation, like airline management.
And what education you got? I mean,
so
to become a specialist like you, what?
So I went to dedicated aviation university in the USA, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I studied aviation business administration, and I remember my first year as a freshman. My first year, I thought I'm going to do something with the airlines, working for Delta, Southwest, JetBlue, whatever. But then I went to my first NBAA show, which is the National Business Aviation Association, which is a huge convention and exhibition in the United States and in general in the world. And I went for my first one in Orlando, Florida, and I just simply fell in love with the business aviation, and I realized it's something I would love to do. And year by year, by studying, I joined a student group where we visited facilities and the manufacturers, their factories like Gulfstream, Embraer, big OEMs, private hangars, FBOs, networking with people, and again to the NBAA shows in Vegas, because they switch around Vegas, Orlando. And I was very lucky enough to have an internship with Dassault Falcon Jet up in Teterboro, New Jersey. So I did 6 months as a market research analyst, more like a marketing intern, learning, the business aviation from the inside. And it was a great experience. And after that, I graduated from university, and I found a job with Honda Aircraft Company, as I said,
in the United States.
In the United States, at the factory in Greensboro, North Carolina. I worked there for about 1 year. And they decided that it would be good to use for a good use for me in Europe, and they transferred over me to Europe, to Germany, to work for the German dealer as a sales manager. So now I'm responsible for Hondajet sales, having a knowledge of technical sales and technical knowledge. So right now I'm responsible for Eastern Europe and Benelux area, and supporting the others.
So you started from watching videos, and now you are even making videos about aviation.
Yes,
so the youngsters, all around the world would watch this video and try to somehow repeat your career, and maybe at some stage it would be possible to come to Honda Corporation.
Some younger generation of for going for aviation, and aviation is not just airlines.
And if Honda Corporation really support young people, educated people, any kind of programs?
They do. They have internship programs every year, mostly for engineers, but there are always opportunities. Not just Honda. I'm saying in general, for younger generation, there are numerous opportunities around the world. You have big manufacturers, small companies, whatever. It's all about I personally have it as my passion aviation. That's what's important. Is this something that you realize you like, you love, it's something you want to do? I think it's the way you go. It's just all about passion, and when people see your passion and they feel like it's not just your job. As I said, it's not just a job, it's a hobby. And when every morning you wake up, you go to the office, or you do have another meeting with a client, I'm happy. It's not like this terrible office job 9 to 5 where you fall asleep, you drink coffee. The traditional corporate American way. It's a bit different.
Yes, I should say it's even more. It's like a kind of fanatism when you really live with aviation.
Yes.
And I always like to hear your stories about each and every part of the aircraft, about other aircrafts, and I would suggest anybody who would want to buy or charter or lease Hondajet first to visit exhibitions like these
Yes.
and meet Maxim, who is the person to tell you how it works in reality,
Yeah.
and maybe even reply to any even smallest questions.
Yes, I'm always happy to answer all the
And
technical
maybe
questions.
just I would ask you the final question. What do you think about this show, Friedrichshafen Aero? Do you like this show?
Yeah.
So have you met a lot of clients?
Yeah, it's
was
great.
it really impressing that after several years of silence
Yeah,
we came
it's
to
finally,
this?
as we explained, as I said in the beginning, very happy to be here. Finally, 2 years later, we can finally meet face to face, and that's what the business aviation is about. It's still very personal, face to face meetings. You can show, touch, feel the product, right? Because you can do hundreds of Zoom calls, you can do hundreds of presentations, but with never replay, in-person meeting and presenting such a beautiful aircraft like a Hondajet. And we're happy, and I hope, it'll be a great outcome. We're hoping for, to sell more, of course. That's why we're here. But also not just, for brand awareness of people, not just for the clients, but also for the people in aviation, because it's the biggest general aviation show in Europe, and maybe even in the world. Not in the world. We have Oshkosh in the United States, but talking about only Europe, that's a great opportunity for people to know more about the Hondajet. It exists, because one of the first things when you hear this, Honda makes aircraft. I thought, cars, motorcycles, boat engines. Yeah, but wow.
All type of engines.
All type of engines.
I think it's worthwhile mentioning that it's the biggest in the world corporation which produce engines. Honda is the engine corporation as it is.
Yeah, some people when they think about Honda, they think about cars, motorcycles, but actually the engines. This is why it was also important to make the Honda engine. But of course, this is a GE Honda Aero engine, a cooperation with GE, because the GE, of course, they're experts in engine manufacturing. And here we have, partnership that worked out really well. It's amazing, powerful and fuel efficient.
I notice
engine.
Every time when I fly that it's really silent and very efficient engines.
Yes.
And I think it's one of the really major advantages, in addition to avionics and the concept of engine mountings, but I think engines is a really invention.
It is an invention. I call it always engineering masterpiece.
Yes.
So you have to, there's certain points, up front and in the back where you clearly see all the curves, the lines, and it's just beautiful.
Thank you very much, Maxim. I believe that you have really very active schedule, and thank you for you found the time to meet us and explain us. I hope that it would your show, your exhibition would be even more efficient after people would watch your speech on YouTube.
I hope so too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.